Hey guys, what up? Total Control 871. Chiming in with some very bad cycling news today. This was brought to my attention by Cheek Flapper, a commuter cyclist in Philadelphia. But before we get to that material, I just want to show you something real quick.
Got the helmet camera on. Is this guy about to turn left on red? As you can see, the importance of signaling prior to your actually turning. This lets me know that this semi is about to turn left, so I don't filter on the left side of it. A lot of cyclists will fail to keep that bit of safety in mind, resulting in a lot of injuries and deaths.
Ominous words. A lot of cyclists will fail to keep that in mind. Coming to you now from 6ABC. Bicyclist ID'd in Center City trash truck crash. Protesters seek change for bike lanes. Philadelphia police have identified the bicyclist who was killed when she was hit by a trash truck in Center City. The victim has been identified as 24-year-old Emily Fredericks. On Wednesday, cyclists protested at the scene, calling for more protection for bike lanes. The line stretched more than a block. Protesters created a human buffer between the bike and traffic lanes on Spruce Street near the site of Tuesday's fatal accident. This happened on Tuesday. Cyclists protesting at the 11th and Spruce site of the fatal accident yesterday between cyclists and trash truck, calling for more protection for bike lanes. We are physically putting ourselves, our bodies, in the space where we're asking the city to build infrastructure, said protester Leah Goldberg. The protest began around 7:30 a.m. Wednesday. A day earlier, almost to the exact minute, 24-year-old Emily Fredericks of South Street was hit by the garbage truck, turning right onto 11th Street. The driver did stop. The Bicycle Coalition of Greater Philadelphia says Fredericks is the third bicyclist to be killed in the city this year. The circumstances surrounding the crash remain under investigations, but protesters are calling for more protective measures for cyclists here and throughout the city. There are flex posts, concrete barriers, and parking lanes that could be placed between the driving cars and the cyclists in the bike lane, said Goldberg. All of those would have closed the bike lane, made more visibly for the driver. Bikers have their part too, said Megan Rosenbach of the Philadelphia's Bicycling Coalition. But at the end of the day, motorists are driving large vehicles that are going to kill a cyclist. Cyclists aren't going to kill a motorist. Police have now blocked Spruce Street by 11th Street to traffic as cyclists continue to protest. Over the course of the protest, officers initially blocked the bike lanes and blocked the head of where the crash happened, then eventually closed down Spruce Street to vehicular traffic, citing the safety of the protesters. City spokesman Mike Dunn called the event a tragedy but couldn't comment on the accident due to ongoing investigation. He did say, in part, "We can say that the bicycle lane on Spruce Street was due to be restriped next month. The city is committed through its Vision Zero program to expanding the city's bike lane network, particularly protected bike lanes." Let's see, it goes on to say, some nearby pedestrians said there needs to be more cooperation between everyone on the road. Mistakes happen, but people have to work together instead of blaming, said Ito Rosario of North Philadelphia. Everyone needs to be more aware, said Daniel Killings of Society Hill. A vigil is being held at 5 p.m. on Wednesday at the site of the bike crash. Organizers said that they will be honoring Fredericks and trying to raise awareness about about safer infrastructure. I'm still battling a head cold here, guys. So you know, all right. Prepare to be shocked. Now, hold on a second. You guys remember this? Put it up a few days ago. Let's have another look at it. Looks pretty innocuous, doesn't it? What's the big deal? It's just a pickup truck pulling up. Okay, so they didn't signal their turn. Is it really that big of a deal that you'd make a video of it? Like I say, it doesn't really matter if it is a massive multi-ton, if it's a massive 80,000 gross vehicle weight flatbed, or if it's a pickup truck, or if it's just a simple 4-cylinder car. If you're underneath its wheels, there's a very good chance you're about to die. So, like I say, that's why I advocate for the proper use of the road. Believe it or not, there is quite a bit of this news article that I disagree with, believe it or not. The protesters, the cyclist protesters, they seem to be centering their anger around making the bike lane more visible, more pronounced. That could probably help. Unfortunately, this cyclist was not sideswiped. One of the biggest things that I have a problem with are curb hugging traffic, which is why I utilize the lane control, because lanes get too narrow and things become very ambiguous as to how far to the right is now suddenly safe versus not. You want me to put my life into the hands of a driver that frankly doesn't have my best interest at heart. They only have their impatient destination, their voracious appetite for speed in a car. Stayed up too late, didn't do what they had to do, whatever the excuse is, they're running late, they got to get their coffee, got to get their caffeine, got to get their gas, got to get their whatever it is, okay? They end up taking it out on all road users, not just simply cyclists, but even other vehicular drivers as well. It's why you end up having the bulk of your accidents on the road. Everybody is breaking their neck to get to where they have to go, and they start cutting corners. They start skipping and omitting road rules, and this is where where most of our accidents come from. I will agree when our protester says that what did she say to that we can say that, basically they go on to say that car versus bike, bicyclist versus vehicle, that the vehicle's going to win every time. we're vulnerable road users. That's my point, and that's what she's talking about, that we're vulnerable road users. That's very much indeed true. We are vulnerable road users. However, that doesn't make you exempt from being able to communicate with vehicular drivers. From what I am gathering so far, from just simply what I have seen in this news report, as well, because I'm going to link it down below. Cheek Flapper's video footage. He did a pass by, and there's a quick glimpse of the accident scene aftermath. There's a couple of things I'd like to point out. We already know that this occurred at an intersection. This was not a situation of lane width too narrow, cyclists being sideswiped and dragged under a vehicle's wheels. This is not that situation. This occurred at an intersection where the bulk of these vehicle-bicycle crashes happen. It was a classic right hook. Vehicle turning right into the path of a cyclist. Now, that doesn't automatically say the cyclist is in the right or the driver was in the wrong. There's a number of things you got to take into account here. This is why I'm telling you guys, you really got to get cameras on your bike. There's so much that we just don't know, and quite frankly may never know. If you had cameras on your bike, that would eliminate all of this. How far ahead, did the garbage truck actually turn into the bicycle, or while the garbage truck was turning, did the bicycle come in and collide into the garbage truck? That we don't know. Turning signals. Part of my appeal process, I'll be going in for the appeal of 30th. I cited an example that here in New Jersey, when you go to prior to making your turn, it has to be 100 feet. The law says it has to be 100 feet that you activate your that you signal. It can't be, once you're at the intersection, then you signal, because then it's too little, too late. You're not doing anybody any good. You're not communicating early enough. So, did this trash truck driver indicate their turn early enough? So much that we just don't know. So yeah, the bike lane infrastructure being increased and improved upon, there's no harm in that whatsoever. I just don't know. And you know what? They made concrete barriers to segregate it, in a fashion. A segregated bike lane would not have prevented this crash from happening. Because eventually, both road, and even if it was a segregated bike lane, both road and bike lane are going to approach this intersection road, okay? And if the garbage truck is signaling early enough, then the cyclist, and if the garbage truck is ahead of the cyclist, well, then the cyclist is going to have to yield, and vice versa. If the cyclist is up ahead, like in the burgundy pickup truck, I was at the intersection first. I am clearly within visual view of that burgundy pickup truck driver. There's no question about this whatsoever. Therefore, that driver needs to yield to me as I go straight and he turned. He should also have his turn signal on too, but he didn't have that. So those are the differences that I'm pointing out here. Definitely, we all got to work together. We all have to communicate. See, there's a lot of, I can't say it was a lack of communication because I really just don't know enough about the incident. It's too bad these garbage trucks don't have black boxes. Black boxes with GPS. How far away from the intersection were you? When exactly did you turn on your turn signal, if you turned it on at all? Now, the link I'm going to put in the description, it's the cheek flappers pass-by footage of this. I've scrutinized this. It's only about 24 seconds of this footage. I've scrutinized it, and from what I've been able to discern is a couple of things. I don't think the garbage truck utilized its turn signals, because it had its hazard flashers where you got your red taillights on and the ambers were like alternating flashing. That's what I'm thinking. And maybe I don't know what the law versus city policy is in Philadelphia. Does hazard alternating amber lights, does that suffice as a turn signal? Meaning any vehicle approaching a vehicle with these type of cautionary lights activated, is that an indicator that we, the approaching vehicle, must yield and defer to that vehicle emitting cautionary lights? I don't know. I can't say. Also, I'm sorry I'm going to have to say this, because you guys know I'm all about equality and fairness here. They said this happened at about 7:30 in the morning. Philadelphia is much farther away from the East Coast, from the shoreline. The farther you are from the shoreline, the later your sunrise is going to be. I don't know if any police officers at the scene switched off any tail lights or a flashing headlight on the bicycle, or if the bicycle had lights at all. Because at that early hour of the morning, how visible was this bicycle? Just more facts that we got to take into account here. So like I say, as much as I would love to instantaneously throw the garbage truck driver underneath the proverbial bus, no pun intended, and with me being an avid cycling advocate, I would love to instantaneously take the cyclist aside in this, but because I have to be fair in all things, the investigation is simply going to have to turn these things out. It's good that there is an investigation. That's progress in and of itself. Normally they just scrape us off the tarmac, bag, tag, and oh well, no big deal. So far the report said that the driver's not going to be facing any charges as of yet. He probably won't. Again, I don't know if he is guilty of anything though. But yeah, so there we go. Oh yeah, finally. Our cyclists, regardless of how in the right or wrong this garbage truck driver was, okay? We'll put a pin in that. This cyclist committed a cardinal sin of vehicular cycling. Never, ever filter on the side of a big rig. Never do it. Large HGVs, stay away from them. The lorries, do not filter on them. Cycle Gas has blasted many cyclists about doing this in a desperate attempt to save their life. Whether the driver is got their signal on or not, you just simply don't do it. And I'll tell you this much also. If you do choose to filter on the side of an HGV big rig, whether the intersection is at a standstill or moving, make sure you have room and the ability to emergency bail off of your bike and roll onto the sidewalk or whatever the case may be. Because you can't put... Yes, it's true. The drivers are by law supposed to indicate and use their turn signals early enough. But are you really going to put your life in that driver's hands, hoping and praying that, they're going to do it? So this cyclist, that I already know. They made the cardinal sin of filtering on the side of large HGVs at an intersection, and that's just something that you never ever do. Kinda goes back to what I was saying a number of videos ago. Does there need to be a vehicular cycling license? How learned are you? How experienced are you? Alright guys, that's it. I'll link everything down below. Discuss it in the comments section. Total Control 871.